All right, hello everyone. Today I'm going over the Chapter 9 review test. This is preparation for tomorrow's Chapter 9 test, which you are doing on your own. So I hope that you pay attention to today's review. You double check everything so that you feel confident for tomorrow and you reach out if you have any questions. I am going to be posting pictures of all of my work so that you can go back and compare yours to make sure that you're on the same page. All right, so let's dive right on in. Also, we had a really awesome Zoom meeting this morning at 9:30. I believe 14 or so was on there. And I hope that we can get more tomorrow. We're meeting again at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow on Zoom, and I will send the link out on Google Classroom. All righty. Here we go. Alexa and Rose read books that have the same number of pages. Very important there. Each of their books have the same number of pages. Alexa's book is divided into 8 equal chapters, and Rose's book is divided into 6 equal chapters. Each girl has read 3 chapters of her book. I really want you to visualize this right now. You have 2 girls, they're each reading a book. Each book has the same number of pages, however, different chapters, different amounts of chapters. Now, the question, what it's asking us to do, is write a fraction to describe what part of the book each girl read, and then tell who read more, explain. Now, I wrote that Alexa, she wrote 3/8, right? She read 3 chapters out of 8. So she read 3/8 and Rose read 3/6. Now, I wrote 3/6 is greater than 3/8 because since the denominators are different, right? Remember that when the denominators are different, you're thinking about the sizes of the pieces. The book with the greater number of chapters will actually have less pages per chapter. Again, you have 2 books with the same amount of pages. Think about the one that has less chapters. Well, there's going to be more pages in each chapter then than the one with 8. Think of like smaller pieces here, except using chapters. Now, number 2, you're basically writing it's a true or false. Are these right or are they wrong? Because this test is so long, I'm not going to read the entire thing together, but I am going to go over these together. So 2A, 2/4 is greater than 2/8. I want you to think that 2/4 is half, right? An entire half is shaded, 2 out of 4. Rather than 2 pieces out of 8 is going to be less space shaded there. 2B, 2/8 greater than 2/6, not true. Again, when the numerators are the same, look at the denominators, and less is more. So that one is incorrect. 2C is correct. 2/6 is less than 2/4. Again, your pieces here are going to be smaller. An entire half is shaded in for 2/4. Where 2/6 is actually going to be smaller piece sizes. And 2D is not equal to, it says 2/8 and 2/4. Now again, if we did that quick trick, 8 to 4 is divided by 2, and 2 divided by 2 is not 2, it would be 1. So that's incorrect. And think again, 2/4 is half, right? 2 out of 4 is half, and 2 out of 8 is not half. If this was a 4, then it would be true. All right, number 3. Dan and Miguel are working on the same homework assignment. Dan has finished 1/4 of the assignment, and Miguel has finished 3/4 of the assignment. Which statement is correct? Mark all that apply, which usually means there's more than one. Looking at these 2 fractions, I noticed that the denominators are the same. So we're going to look at the numerator, and the one with the greater numerator is more. So out of A, B, C, and D, B and C are true. Dan has not completed the entire assignment. which is true. If he did complete the entire assignment, it would have to be 4/4, right? 4 out of 4, but he only completed 1/4. C is also true that Miguel has finished more of the assignment than Dan, and I showed that over here using my symbols. 3/4 is greater than 1/4. Again, same denominators, so look at the numerator. Okay. Number 4, this is all about the missing piece strategy for this one. It says Brian cut 2 peaches that were the same size for lunch. I should have underlined that. So you have 2 peaches, each of them are the same size, but they're cut differently. He cut 1 peach into 4ths, which I did over here, and the other into 6ths, which I did right here. I also took some notes up here just to organize my thinking. His brother ate 5/6 of the second peach. Oh, and Brian ate 3/4 of the first peach. Who ate more? And explain the strategy that you used. So what I did, this peach is the brother's, right? And this is Brian's. Brian ate 3 out of 4, and the brother ate 5 out of 6. Now, different denominators and different numerators, boys and girls. So again, that's probably the trickiest one, but we have this type of strategy called the missing piece strategy. And all you need to do is when you draw out your equal size circles, you cut each one into the amount of pieces that are needed. So this one into 4, and again, I found that out by looking at the denominator, and this one into 6. And then you shade in what they ate. So the brother ate 5 and Brian ate 4. Now, you're going to look at the missing piece. This is what's left over for the brother, and this is what's left over for Brian. It looks like Brian has more of his peach left over. He didn't eat as much, right? So this fraction is greater. More was consumed, more was eaten. And that's the missing piece strategy. All right, again, I don't know why I always feel like things are easier when we think about cake. If these were cakes, you have 2 birthday cakes here, and this is cake A, this is cake B. More of cake A was eaten, right? This one's greater because there's less left over. So all I wrote was that his brothers, because I used the missing piece strategy, and since 1/6, right, this is 1/6, 1 out of 6 is left. This is 1 out of 4 is left. Since 1/6 is less than 1/4, a smaller piece was missing from his brother's peach, meaning he ate more, if less is left over. Missing piece strategy, everyone, definitely one that takes a lot of practice to get used to. So if that one, if that strategy is a little overwhelming, it's okay. There's certain strategies, there's certain fractions that are way easier to work with. For example, when the denominators are the same, even when they're different but the numerators are the same, it's still easier when the numerators and denominators are both different. That's when things get kind of tricky. Number 5, a nature center offers 2 guided walks. The morning walk is 2/3 of a mile, and the evening walk is 3/6 of a mile. Which walk is shorter? Explain how you can use the model to find the answer. So I shaded in 2/3 here, and I shaded in 3/6 here. And just by looking at this, I can tell that more was walked for this fraction. So I said the evening walk, right? Because the evening walk was this one. And this was the morning walk, which says it in the word problem. So the evening walk, because the model for 3/6 is shorter than 2/3. Now this one, you're just taking these numbers and you're writing whether they're greater than or less than, and 5/8 is greater than 3/8. Again, the denominators are the same, so just look at the numerator, and the greater one is greater. And 5 is greater than 3. All right, number 7. Mrs. Reed baked 4 pans of lasagna. So pan 1, pan 2, pan 3, and pan 4 for a party. We're going to use the rectangles to represent those pans. So part A says to draw lines in each one that represents thirds, fourths, sixths, and eighths. So this one I broke into thirds, this one fourths, sixths, and eighths. This took me a little bit of time to make sure my lines were even. Now it says at the end of the dinner, equivalent amounts of lasagna in 2 pans were left. So 2 of these are equivalent, 2 pairs. Use the models to show the lasagna that might have been left over and write 2 pairs of equivalent fractions to represent the models. So I looked at 1/3 and I did my quick trick where I multiplied by 2 on each, top and bottom, and I got 2/6, which is this one. So 1/3 and 2/6 are equivalent. And I did the same for 2/4, and I got 2/4 and 4/8 were equivalent. And I wrote, remember the quick trick, which is doing this, which can quickly get you equivalent fractions. You can multiply or divide. Okay, Tom rode his horse for 4/6 of a mile. That's right here. 4 shaded out of 6, and Liz rode her horse for an equal distance. What is an equivalent fraction that describes how far Liz rode? Use the models to show your work. So I knew that I needed something with thirds here, and I knew that was possible because of my quick trick. If I did 6 divided by 2, I got 3, and 4 divided by 2 is 2, so I knew I needed to shade in 2 out of 3. So 4/6 and 2/3 are equal. You can kind of see that all of this is a similar amount or the same amount shaded in. Okay, Avery prepares 2 equal size oranges for the bats at the zoo. One dish has 3/8 of an orange and another dish has 2/8 of an orange. Which dish has more of an orange? Show your work. Again, my strategy is the same denominator. So the one with the greater numerator wins. So the dish with 3/8 of an orange has more. Okay. Number 10, you're using greater than or less than or equal to symbols. So I used the smaller p strategy, the missing p strategy, and after reading this, I figured out that 1/8 is less than 1/6. Now I want you to really picture that in your head. If you have the same amount size cake, okay, again using cake, say you have 2 cakes, one cake was split into 8 pieces and the other was split into 6 pieces. Well, which one is going to have bigger pieces? This one, okay? Think again, 2 cakes, what one's bigger if you have to share it between 8 people or if you have to share it between 6 people, right? You're gonna get bigger pieces with this one. Number 11, Bill used 1/3 cup of raisins and 2/3 of a cup of banana chips to make a snack. For 11A through 11D, you're just writing true or false for each comparison. So this is 1/3 is not greater than 2/3, right? Same denominator. That wouldn't make sense. 1 is not greater than 2. 11B is also false. Those are not equal. 11C is true. 1/3 is less than 2/3. We've got the same denominator and 1 is less than 2. And 11D is also true. 2/3 is greater than 1/3. Same denominator, so the bigger numerator wins. And 2 is greater than 1. Number 12, Jorge, Lynn, and Crosby meet at the playground. Jorge lives 5/6 of a mile from the playground. Lynn lives 4/6 of a mile from the playground. And Crosby lives 7/8 of a mile from the playground. So you're basically comparing, who lives closer to the playground, Jorge or Lynn. So you're comparing those fractions, 5/6 and 4/6. And again, that's all up here. And I said that Lynn lives closer because 5/6 and 4/6 have the same denominator. So I just compared the numerators. Now part B, who lives closer to the playground, Jorge or Crosby? So now we're comparing those two fractions, 5/6 and 7/8. And the answer is Jorge, because I use the missing piece strategy. And 5/6 will have a larger missing piece than 7/8. And if you wanted to draw that out, you could, to help you better understand that one. So we are skipping number 13. Number 14, you have 12 people that are having lunch, and each person wants a third of a sub sandwich. How many whole sub sandwiches are needed? Use the models to show your answer. Now again, you're not going to be using all of these. You're figuring out how many you're going to be using. You have 12 people and they each want a third. So a third of 12 is 4. A quick trick is taking 12 and dividing it by the denominator, which we've talked about, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. But also, to show that out, if each person wants a third of a sub, you're going to split each piece into thirds. And when you do that, you end up with 4 until you get to 12. And so there you go, your 4 sandwiches. And I labeled each one showing the piece each person gets. Number 15, Marvis mixed 2/4 of a quart of apple juice with 1/2 of a quart of cranberry juice. Compare the fractions and choose the symbol that makes the statement true. So again, look at this fraction. 2/4 is half. 2 is half of 4. And there you go. So they're equal. And I showed that with a fraction strip and the quick trick. Divided bottom and top by 2. And I can see that it gets to 1/2. Now, number 16, you are going to read this one and order them from least to greatest. So they all have the same denominator. So you're going to just look at the numerators. 2, 3, 5 from least to greatest. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. Number 17, again, you're doing least in the middle and greatest. So I drew a line and I also wrote them out here. Different denominators here, however, the same numerator. So you want to remember that less is more. Now, 4/4 is definitely the biggest because it's a whole, right? 4 out of 4 pieces. So I definitely knew that one was the greatest. I knew this one was the smallest because if we follow less is more, this is the biggest one. So it's actually the opposite. It would be the smallest. My sizes of my pieces are going to be smaller if they're cut into 8 pieces. All right. And 4 6s in the middle. So I said, think about the sizes of the pieces to help you with that one. Number 18, Danielle drew a model to show equivalent fractions, and here you're going to use the model to complete the number sentence. So you can see that 1/2 is shaded purple, so 1/2, if you want to look at it that way, but you can also look at each individual square. And I also used the quick trick. 1/2, I multiplied top and bottom by 2, and I got 2/4. I multiplied 2/4 top and bottom by 2, and I got 4/8. Now look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there you have it. 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8 are all equivalent. Floyd caught a fish that weighed 2/3 of a pound, and Kira caught a fish that weighed 7/8 of a pound. Whose fish weighed more? Explain the strategy that you used to solve the problem. Now, whenever you have a different numerator and a different denominator, you need to use the missing piece strategy. So I drew a diagram to help me. I drew 2 circles, which are representing the fish. I think this is easier than drawing the strips. That's just my opinion. You might like the strips better, and I know Christine this morning sent me a picture of how she made her own fraction strips. I know Cameron's done that, so whatever works best for you to visualize. Now again, this is 7/8, 8 pieces total, 7 of them are shaded in. Over here, 3 pieces and 2 are shaded in. I'm going to look at the piece that's left over, and whichever piece is smaller is actually the greater fraction. Because it means that more was eaten, right? If you have less of a cake left over, it means more of it was eaten. Number 20, Sam went for a ride on a sailboat. The ride lasted 3/4 of an hour. What fraction is equivalent to 3/4? And again, I used my quick trick to show that, and I also looked at the diagram. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is shaded in. So 6/8 is equivalent to 3/4. And if I was to divide 6 by 2 and 8 by 2, I would get 3/4. So I know I'm right. All right, everyone. That concludes the lesson for today, the review test. It was definitely quick because it is a review test, and the last one I had you do completely on your own. I wanted to show you this so that you feel confident for tomorrow. Make sure you do your test tomorrow and you get it into me by tomorrow for credit. I need to see pictures of this. That is going on your report card. So you want to make sure you have these things into me. And if you don't have a printer and you can't print the test, all you need to do is write the number and write the answer. All right? Nice and neat. I don't want to be getting messy work. Okay? So let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to send pictures of this on Google Classroom so you can look closely at it and check your work. And I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. for our Zoom call. Bye, everyone.